Hello everyone, this is Dignitas Micket and this is my first video log for Team Dignitas YouTube channel. For those who don't know who I am the analyst for Team Dignitas UK. I work alongside Dignitas Stress and we try and turn these casuals into LCS quality players, and we're trying our best and we're doing quite well so far. So my job as an analyst, of course, is to watch a lot of VODs and obviously Worlds, being like an international tournament with lots of games from different regions, is obviously something that I've been focusing on greatly lately. Today I'll be talking a bit about the quarterfinal matches, specifically Fnatic Cloud9, because the others weren't quite as interesting. I suppose I can briefly talk about the others. I'll talk about SKT against Gambit. The big thing about this match is that every single lane from SKT won, and you'll notice that something that they do that is really, really good is something that results in consistent wins. Their lanes never go for risky kills. You saw like Ozone, often their lanes went for risky kills and sometimes worked, sometimes backfired. That's called inconsistent play. What they did was that they just constantly pushed up their lanes, had everything warded so they'll never get ganked, and they just slowly took every dragon, had global map control, had control of all the buffs, the enemy jungle, and that in itself will snowball your lead. Just winning your lane pretty much means I can push them to tower and they can't do anything about me, or I can stand in the middle of the lane, press/dance, and they can't do anything because they're last hitting on the tower. If you're able to do that without actually getting ganked, or you bait them into ganking you and counter gank them, that means you've won your lane. And that's something that Faker does all the time. You'll notice that when Faker was on Ahri against Kassadin, not only was he 100 CS up, he single-handedly took mid-turret at 11 minutes. You'll find that in Cloud9 versus Fnatic, they could not do that to Xpeke's Kassadin, and that means losing lane. Obviously it depends on matchup, sometimes you will get pushed in, sometimes you won't. But a hallmark of SKT's play is that, sure, they get solo kills in their lanes because they are gods, but they never go for like really risky outplays where two people come out with like 0 HP. They only do that when they're quite ahead in gold and they're snowballing. So that's SKT against Gambit. It wasn't really that interesting a match. It was nice watching a few good plays here and there, and seeing Impact really having an impact. Okay, let's move on to Sword against Gambit. These matches weren't really interesting either. Both teams didn't really play all that well. Nagni got shit on by, I don't know how to say that, got destroyed by Alexic. If it weren't for bot lane absolutely wrecking games 2 and 3, and top lane wrecking as well, then, I'm pretty sure Sword would have lost, because mid lane is so important nowadays. Like, Ahri against Fizz, if Fizz kills Ahri 1v1, like, the game's over, in my opinion. Like, the other lanes have to be slightly behind or even for you to just win that game, because Fizz becomes unstoppable. And obviously the exception of this is when you have a bot lane which double kills at 4 minutes. Sword's bot lane is incredibly strong, although I must say that Gambit's bot lane is incredibly weak. As much as people say like, oh, Genji's so unique, Genji's all this, Genji's all that, in terms of early trading in bot lane, he's not the best. And Voidal, I don't know too much about him, but he doesn't really impress me that much. He makes a lot of positioning mistakes as well. And obviously with the hooks from Kayn and the flays, they absolutely wrecked that lane. Top lane was completely wrecked as well. We didn't even get to see much of top lane because the camera never panned to it. But if you're suddenly seeing Renekton like taking a tower by himself at like 12 minutes and there's something wrong going on in top lane, I suppose if Shen has to TP bot a lot when he's already lost his lane, that's not good. Although Shen was 0-0-0, Renekton was 0-0-0, if Shen is just like endlessly being pushed to his tower, then yeah, you lost your lane. And this is an example of Diamond Procs trying to snowball mid and Nagne just hanging on. But Diamond Procs never visits top lane. that's not necessarily a fault of his, because a general style of Gambit is that they let their jungler focus on top lane, because Darien plays team fights so well, it doesn't matter if he's slightly behind. And Darien's style means that he likes pushing lanes, he likes overextending a little bit just to draw attention, and it's his quote-unquote feeding strategy. But actually, it does allow diamond procs, especially on strong lane gankers like Eve, to really snowball ahead and take control of the dragon, which is something that Gambit prioritizes a lot. And if Alex switches on an assassin, the amount of picks you can get from ward control around the dragon area, at enemy blue, or if you're purple side, you can get picks across the wall of the dragon pit. You can get picks at Wraith camp, because the vision sort of in that area is always really difficult to get hold of. There's like 3 brushes you have to ward, and they could be in any of them. So yeah, and that is why Gambit, like, Diamond doesn't really gank top all that much. And also Darien is usually holds his lane very well 1v1, but not against Expression. I know Shen isn't great against Renekton, but at the same time shouldn't have lost his lane that hard. Yeah, and then Watch pretty much just camps mid lane, because bot lane destroyed, top lane destroyed, so Watch has a really easy job. He just needs to not do something stupid like feed in the opponent's jungle, and he can, with a jungler like Elise, he can always snowball Ahri. I don't really understand the Nunu pick. A lot of people don't understand. I suppose Nunu's decent at dragon control, but Lee Sin's still better. I mean, his W, his Blood Boil, is good on the ADC, but I know Prey is like a god, but generally, rather than supporting the AD, is just being a bigger threat, in my opinion. Protects the AD more than just making your AD stronger, because good ADs are self-sufficient when it comes to dealing damage in team fights. They don't need extra help. And often, if you like, the best form of peel is to kill, right? And Elise does like percentage damage. She's like a brilliant tank shredder, even with like tank items. Or even Lee Sin also has percentage damage, has a knockback. I think Lee Sin's much better. I don't understand Nunu picked. Obviously, Watcher really likes it. If he just happens to be really good at Nunu, then I mean, it's not hard. But yeah. Okay, so I haven't fully gone over the matches with the Chinese team, so we'll have to skip that for today. But at the same time, I need to analyse a bit more of the RPL. I've slacked a little bit on that, so I need to look at that before I can gauge like the team's play styles. All I know is that like 3k gold leads were like thrown away, and then so I think that's partly due to teams' over eagerness to fight. Whilst I think it's an exciting play style to watch and incredibly strong when snowballing, it's not consistent. That's why I like SKT. They're consistent. Like, if they're ahead, they won't lose, and if they're behind, they outplay you and they still win. Okay, so now on the big match, Cloud9 Fnatic. Now this is a match I was really excited for. Obviously, as I'm from the UK, I was rooting for Fnatic. And yeah, so Cloud9's been really dominant in North America. Fnatic's not really been dominant in Europe, but they have been dominant at Worlds, and they often do this. They just like show up at a LAN and just win. Whilst regular season, they like, I don't know what, like they play like Caitlyn mid or something and it doesn't work, or funny stuff like that. No, that's not really true. It's just I don't think they play as well in a regular season format. So on paper, it looked like Cloud9 with their insane like 30 wins to 3 losses record probably had the upper hand in this, especially considering most people thought that NA and EU were pretty equal. I completely disagree with this, of course. I would say outside of Cloud9, none of the NA teams are good at all. And I say this with the most sincerity. I do not think that Vulcan or TSM, any of them, all play all that well. I mean, they barely won any games at Worlds. I mean, in the first day, Vulcan beat Fnatic, but they got 2 kills at level 1. Like, of course they're going to win that match, and that's no disrespect to them. Like, I'm not discrediting that win, but that does not show that you are on the same level as your opponent. Like, outside of, unless they are so much better than you, in which case, like if it was Vulcan against SKT and they won after getting a double kill at level 1, I would be, wow, impressive, because usually SKT will be able to come back against a team like Vulcan, but not Fnatic. Fnatic is a team that relies on, they don't rely on snowballing, but is generally their strategy. They require, you know, deep vision control. They require strong picks, strong laners, and like things such as, like, they're not going to just play passively or anything like that. That's something I think Cloud9 does, and I think this is a symptom of the NA meta. The thing about Cloud9 is that in North America, games get thrown a lot. People do not know how to snowball leads. I'll give you an example. In TSM versus SKTT1, TSM were winning dragon fights because they had a Karthus and they had, you know, lots of AoE damage and all that kind of stuff, whilst SKTT1 playing a pick comp, and people were saying, oh my god, why isn't TSM going in with such a strong teamfight comp? And if you've been watching NA LCS for the last 6 months, you'll notice that NA play is really slow. Often the call by NA shot callers is, let's farm lanes and wait for dragon. And jungler farms the jungle, bot lane farms bot lane, mid lane farms mid lane, and top lane farms top lane. And then you just wait for another 5v5 fight at dragon, and that's all they do. So when people say, oh, why aren't they going in? I say, that's because they never go in. Like, this is NA, they don't go in. Well, Cloud9 is decisive, Vulcan is decisive, TSM is decisive when they play well. All the other teams are not decisive, or they do not make the call to go in, or pressure more, or do deep invades, buff steals, everything. They play very passively, and I think Cloud9's playstyle is a symptom of this. The laners generally, Cloud9 are also one of those consistent teams, but they do it in a different way. They're consistent by generally playing quite passive in lane. Their bot lane against Fnatic, Lemonation bought a Doran's Shield and a mana Manipulator. Now this is for additional sustain and just being a strong lane bully items. And together they cost a similar amount to a Sightstone. And so they sacrifice ward control because they know that they're always going to be pushed up, just so they can survive laning phase and let Meteos get farmed greater than the opposing jungler to achieve much greater dragon control, and then they can win dragon fights that way. And that's what they did. They won the first 2 dragons against Fnatic, and you know, I can't fault them for that. That is really, really well played, because technically bot lane lost. Mid lane, yeah, it lost quite badly actually. Top lane, I wasn't sure. Again, the camera doesn't pan to top lane. You don't know what's going on. I would say it lost, but I can't know for sure. But you know, still, Meteos was ahead, was further ahead than Cyanide, even though all the lanes were behind. And that way, they are able to secure the first 2 dragons. They timed. I mean, Xpeke made a huge mistake when he got chunked mid lane because he had chose a really bad backing time, and they got a free dragon. Second time, again, was more or less a free dragon. I mean, there were dragon fights that came afterwards, but they were generally even trades. And the thing about Dragon Gold, which a lot of people don't understand, like, a gold lead is insignificant in a lot of circumstances. A gold lead is a measure of how likely you are to snowball. A 5k gold lead, you are going to snowball. Like, that's a symptom of being a full item ahead. 1k gold lead doesn't really do anything, because in terms of just raw item stats, just say each person gets 190 gold, what's that, 2 wards? You can't get anything else with it. It can push you over the edge to get a big item, but if you're CSing worse than your opponents, that doesn't mean anything, which Cloud9 was known, they weren't CSing as well as Fnatic. So what does a gold lead mean? 2k gold lead? Well, you can say that's a lot of wards, or if it's focused on one player, then yeah, that lane is going to snowball. But I stand by my saying of it's a measure of how likely you are to snowball, because the more important things than a gold lead is winning your lane, getting ahead in XP, getting your lane pushed up, allowing you to get deep wards, allowing you to take map control, allows you to set up picks, set up roams, get lane rotations which cannot be read easily by the opponent, so they get surprised when 4 people group mid and they have 2, you kill one of them, you take mid turret, and you get 12-minute inhibitor like SKT against OMG. That's what a gold lead allows you to do, because gold lead means you're winning your lanes, or you're winning in global gold, which allows you to get more map control, more map pressure, and that alone wins you the game, because often you're not even an item ahead with a small gold lead. And that's what Cloud9 failed to do. So despite them being 2 to 3k gold ahead through dragons and turrets, they could not snowball it because they still weren't winning lanes. Like, despite maybe Meteos probably being like 1,000 gold up, the other lanes, maybe a few hundred gold up, because in more important things such as levels, which is worth more than gold, and general matchups, Castin will outscale, Lissandra outscales, and as well as TP, global pressure. So I talked about map control. TP equals map control a lot of the time. So they were winning lanes without TP, without Ignite, and with TP. So it kind of is a ticking time bomb. Cloud9 need to snowball in that situation. They need to, after getting the gold lead, establish lane dominance again, get deep wards in a jungle, set up really nice lane rotations, set up picks, set up good grouping to allow to take objectives, and this wasn't done. And by the third dragon fight rolled around, Lissandra and Castin were too strong. Gragas was nullified. I can't remember who was top lane. I think it was Shen, nullified. The bot lane got caught. Hai got caught, and once that happens, like, the game is pretty much over, because they were already they only had one chance to maintain this gold lead, and they didn't do it. So that's why Fnatic won the first game. Second game, not really much. I mean, the analyst desk pretty much summed it up pretty well. If mid lane's going to die 1v1 to a Fizz, you're not going to win the game. Still, like, Fnatic played quite well considering how poorly mid lane was doing. But I'm not surprised at all Cloud9 won from that. Third game was not that really interesting. 2 kills at level 1, any good team will close that out. Again, notice how they snowball. People always talk about, Fnatic likes camping in brushes. Oh, that's why they win. Oh, can't go near that brush. But that's, again, a symptom of map control, lane pressure, map dominance, deep warding. That isn't anything to do with cheesy tactics or Fnatic doing a Fnatic. That's like lots of teams establish picks in many ways. Like SKT does it over Baron Wall. Some Fnatic like camping in brushes. Whatever, you can do whatever you want once you have map dominance. If you punish them at all for taking a short route through the jungle, then go ahead, punish them. And that's what players like XPK, Faker, they do incredibly well. And they also make really good decisions as well. They know when to go for the pick, when not to. Because sometimes if you get chunked yourself, even if you kill them and you get chunked, it's not worth it. Like, you get gold, but as I've talked about, gold doesn't mean all that much. It just tells you how gold simply facilitates easier way of getting map dominance and everything. So that's pretty much it for my video log. Quick predictions on semi-finals. I think SKT will beat Sword, simply because SKT is a really strong bot lane as well. Impact is probably going to lose lane to Expression, because Expression is really good, but Faker's going to absolutely destroy Nagne. And Faker's one of those players that if you camp him, it doesn't matter because he can dodge all your skill shots. He knows the spacing between the mid laners where he won't get hit by any of your CC. But Faker's still always going to be one that when the jungler comes, he's pushed back. When the jungler isn't there, he pushes you in, and it's very hard to catch him out pushing you in whilst the jungler's there. I don't know how, but he never gets ganked and dies unless you burn a lot. In which case, usually when that happens, the other lanes win, because that's how SKT plays. Like, they allocate jungle pressure really, really well. I really like Bengi's style. I think like when he plays Lee Sin, he buys a sight stone and beelines towards the enemy jungle if he's ahead. Obviously, if he's behind, he just dies if he does that. But like that is something that North American junglers can work on. If you do get ahead, then you need to utilize it. You can't just say, "Oh, now I can farm the jungle faster." No, that doesn't snowball your lead. A laner is much better off with a kill in that way. If a jungler cannot snowball his own kills into making his presence felt across the map, you want it so top lane thinks he's getting ganked, mid lane thinks he's getting ganked, bot lane thinks he's getting ganked, and the jungler thinks he's getting counter jungled. That's the ideal situation. Rarely happens, but if you're able to make your presence felt in all of those aspects, you've won the game. And jungler snowballing is something that I don't think any does ever. So what's the other match is Fnatic against Royal. Now Royal has Fnatic like playing assassins and Royal play an AD centric style. So it's pretty much Uzi versus Peke and Soaz, and possibly Yellow Star if he's playing Leona as well. That's really hard to predict. I've not seen enough of Royal. Again, I have not watched the Royal OMG games in great detail yet. My pick is on Fnatic though, because supporting my homeboys from EU. I just think that Royal's mid laner looked slightly weak, lost quite badly to Cool, and I think Xpeke is on the level, if not better than Cool. I think the thing about Xpeke is that I think that if he runs TP against Faker, he's going to get demolished. But against any weaker mid laner than him, he can run TP, have his presence felt all over the map, and still win his lane, which is something that is very difficult to do, but he has the skill to do it, and if he pulls that off, Fnatic will win. Right, so that's the end of my video log. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, then please feel free to follow me on Twitter. Shout out to Dignitas and to our sponsors, Alienware, Intel, and all the great sponsors of Dignitas. And also, thank you for setting up this YouTube channel. I do enjoy speaking a lot. As an analyst, it's my job to be concise, and so obviously I haven't done that, but oh well. See you later.